Community Hotline is made possible with generous support by the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission. The Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission advocates on behalf of the public interest on communications policy issues at the local, state, and federal levels.
Hi, and welcome back to our last segment of Community Hotline tonight. I'm Monica Weitzel. We're in Gresham at MetroEast Community Media. And now we're going to be talking with Northwest Family Services, specifically Amy Simmons, who is the Academic Success Program Coordinator, among other things, I understand. Nice to have you here, Amy.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You bet. So you, Northwest Family Services has all sorts of programs.
Yeah. And
maybe you could tell us a little bit about maybe how long they've been around and what some of those programs are.
Yeah, we've been around for quite a while. So I'll talk specifically, we have a broad range of services.
A very broad range.
Our main office is down in Clackamas. But a lot of what I do and the people that I get to interact with are our East County staff and programs, which are mostly centered around youth. We have some services for older folks and counseling services and things of that nature down in Clackamas. But out here, we mostly get to work in schools.
Okay.
So for example, I run an education program that centers around keeping kids in class and keeping their grades up, which has
always
been
a good thing.
Fantastic and exciting. Yeah. Oregon really struggles with our graduation rates.
Right, and we're like way low on the amount of money we invest in our schools and on how we're doing.
It seems like maybe there's a connection.
It's kind of embarrassingly low, actually.
Yeah, and so the state has actually been gracious enough that they paid for a grant for us to do what's called truancy prevention work, so keeping kids in school regularly, which directly relates to their grades, which directly relates to just healthy lives in general, is what we find.
Will relate to their future jobs and you know, stability in their lives and so on and so forth. It just is sort of a domino effect if you don't get that education.
Especially in Oregon with the Oregon Promise, where if students have a 2.5 GPA, they can get a couple of years of free community college. Getting kids with higher grades is really a much bigger opportunity for them than it ever has been before.
Yeah, that's a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, it really, and it's been a joy to work in. We work specifically in Centennial School District with that program, and they're obviously wonderful, lovely people, and they've really welcomed us in, and it's been fantastic. So that is run by me and my coworker Joshua Ralstad, who's at the middle school down there, which is great.
So what are the ages of the kids that you work with?
So we work, in East County, we work with students from about 12 years old to about 24 years old throughout our program. So Joshua works at the middle school, which is your 12 through 14.
Right.
I'm at a high school, so I work with 14 to 18. And we also have an education and jobs program. And that works with students who have been disengaged from school or work for a variety of reasons, whether it's because they're teen parents or because the mainstream schooling system was just not working out for them.
Or maybe they're from a homeless family where they couldn't get there on a regular basis. I mean, I've seen that.
Oh yeah, that can be a really big challenge, or it's just not the environment in which they thrive. Right. It can just honestly be true. Sometimes something like a GED program really is what works best because it's so independently driven. And so what they do is they come in and they pair with students and help them walk through what is actually a pretty complicated process up at Mount Hood Community College, and help them figure out how to do independence, help them connect to jobs. They do resumes with them and stuff like that.
How great to have somebody to kind of hold your hand through that process.
That is exactly what we call it. We say that it's hand holding. And it's really great, especially when there is a big overlap of young people who don't have as good of a connection to their family, finding themselves disconnected from school or work. So it's great.
Yeah, it could be very traumatic, and then trying to navigate the, getting a job or even going back to school or whatever. It could be overwhelming. I'm sure it would be easy to just give up.
Yes, it would. And so Ava and Omar, who are the people who run that program, they're wonderful, loving, beautiful people, and they do such a great job of just showing compassion and hope with our students. And I think that's such a big thing that a lot of organizations focus on, but I've really loved working with Northwest Family Services because I see that with all of my coworkers is just a real hope and belief in the youth that we work with.
You know, I got a call from Omar not very long ago when he was working with somebody who had an interest in video production, and so we've been talking about, you know, having her come here and take some classes and seeing how we could work together to help her, and it was very evident that he cared about this person and the family and wanted to, you know, find something that would interest her but would give her some job skills and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's a great thing. So one of the things that you have is a family empowerment workshops.
Yes.
And so that's why I originally contacted you, or Northwest Family Services this time, is to find out about that one because I didn't know anything about that program. So what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so the Family Empowerment Program has existed for, I believe, 3 or 4 years now. It's pretty connected to our peer court program.
And that one I am familiar with.
Yeah, which is a restorative, for those who don't know, it's a restorative justice program that works with students who have been caught in some sort of low-level offense. So we work with a lot of students who were caught with marijuana at school, who were shoplifting, things of that nature. And it gives them the opportunity, it's kind of a built-in second chance, right? Instead of them immediately going into the system, this is kind of their first option. And the schools have gotten really engaged around it. It's been great.
It's a super program. And the fact that there are other peers involved in actually administering justice, if you will.
Yeah, so they get to be the jury, they get to be the lawyers. The only adult who's actually in the process is Ava overseeing it, and then there's a judge who's either an actual judge or a lawyer from the community who's volunteering.
But these are real, I mean, whatever they decide the I don't want to say punishment, but whatever the consequences are, those are real and they're legal.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. So it's been a really great program. We've had a lot of success with that. Spirit Mountain helped us fund that. The state has also helped us fund that a bit, which we're super thankful for.
I've talked to some of the kids that have gone through that program, and they all want to be lawyers or judges.
Right, gets them excited about that process.
Yeah, that's great.
So one of what we call accountabilities, actually, I said consequences, but we call them accountabilities, that a lot of families wind up with is our family empowerment class, but it's also available, and we really encourage families from throughout the community to engage with it. I know I call all my parents who I work with around education, because basically what the class exists for is that most students who are struggling in any way, whether it's with their mental health, whether it's with school, whether it's with delinquent behavior, are having trouble connecting with the adults in their life, and primarily their parents, right? You're a parent, and you understand this.
I don't know any teenager who doesn't have some time when they're going through that, or the vice versa, the parents trying to understand their children, you know, especially their teenagers. That's a tough time.
Yeah, it's hard, and what we get to do in the family empowerment class, which is, it's quick. It's a 2-hour class. We have it once a month. It's coming up on May 23rd, I believe, this month. It's a Tuesday. And what we do is we get to talk about the teen brain and how it works. We get to talk about the adult brain and how it works, help people kind of understand their functioning a little bit more. And then from there, we get to talk about what those communication barriers might be and kind of facilitate a little bit more communication and a little bit more connection between students and their parents.
So are the students and the parents there at the class?
Yes, so we invite both students, youth of, it's mostly geared towards teenagers, though sometimes we do kind of a broader spectrum. Also, honestly, it's helpful to know what's going on in a teenage brain before your kid's a teenager. Puberty happens at all sorts of times, and that's when those changes sort of start.
Yeah.
So
be prepared.
Yeah, so it's good to be prepared, and we welcome in parents of kids of all ages, but we mostly are talking about kind of the changes happening in the teenage brain. And we ask the teenagers to come and to start that conversation with their parents and give them a place to have a voice and give parents a place to be heard as well.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. So what kind of feedback have you gotten from people that have gone through the workshops?
Yeah, so we do a little survey at the beginning and at the end, so we usually get to hear, and people are always really excited about the neurobiology stuff, about just learning about how the brain works. I find it really exciting, so maybe that's why they think it's interesting, is because I'm excited about it.
You convey that excitement.
But also a big thing is they always are really thankful for, like, okay, I feel like I have a starting place, because so often teenagers and parents feel like they don't even know where to begin with each other. They feel like they're speaking different languages, and a lot of times they come away with this sense of, okay, now we have a starting place.
And we can work together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they've both gone through it, so they both know where they're at, and they can work together from there.
And there's such good transparency throughout it.
Yeah.
Families consistently engage in a really great way where they're very honest about, and we try and create that space the best we can, where they're honest about what's going on while still being positive about one another. We try and facilitate that.
So it's safe and comfortable for both parties, and to be able to say what they really need to say.
Yeah.
So if there was a family situation that was really needed more help, are there other programs that could take it from there? I mean, if you have a family that said, okay, this is good, but we really need more.
Yeah, so we just offer the one family class, but what we are able to do is we have, as I've mentioned, so we have our school program, which can be great because that gives just you another person to connect to. One thing we do go over is we go over drug and alcohol use with teenagers in our class, and we do have in-school drug and alcohol services.
Okay.
If that's I had a family recently actually who came to a family empowerment class through a different means, and wound up walking away with my card so that they could contact one of our drug and alcohol counselors, because that's able to happen in the school, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks to Multnomah County has been going really, really well, and is such a great immediate resource for that.
Well, if there's drug and alcohol abuse in parents or the kids, that's going to drastically affect the relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
So that has to be dealt with.
So we try and address it holistically like that, and we are very connected throughout the community.
We have lots of community partners.
Yeah, we have a lot of community partners, and being based in schools makes it easier to kind of find places. So I love to facilitate those things for as much as I can. So if a family comes up and says, hey, here's a thing that we need, and I can't personally offer it or my team can't, I'm happy to find a way to connect someone to a place that can.
So you're saying, say if they don't go to Centennial High School, or they are not or you're not actually working in their schools, they could contact Northwest Family Services, and you'd be able to either help, get them into a workshop or connect them to the right resources.
Yeah, we would happily find the place that's going to help them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you are your workshops and programs, are they just in English? Do you ever do them?
We do English and Spanish.
You do? Okay.
So for family empowerment, we do English and Spanish. Our last Spanish one is tomorrow.
Okay.
It's tomorrow at Centennial Middle School, I believe, and it's from 6 to 8 p.m. And then our last English one of the year will be on May 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m. at Centennial Middle School.
So when do you start up again? Do you start up when the school year starts?
Yeah, we'll start up early in the fall. So pretty much as soon as the school year starts, we start.
Okay, good.
And then the other thing that we do have, which a lot of families who attend family empowerment find helpful, is we do also offer an Understanding Teen Mental Health workshop for parents. That's one we ask that students don't come to, because we just get a little bit more into what depression and anxiety and suicidal ideation look like and how to intervene on that with.
It's a pretty serious and important subject, though.
Yeah, and so we try and ask that parents can be there, because then it becomes more of a safe place for them to talk about how they're struggling, which isn't as true if their youth are present. And that we're having also at Centennial Middle School on May 30th from 6 to 8 p.m.
Important services.
Yeah.
We're just about out of time, Amy. What else? Is there anything else that you would like us to know about Northwest Family Services or the programs you offer? Or anything else?
I think I've sang our praises enough.
You're doing a great job. I appreciate it, and all the ways that you're touching families throughout the community is wonderful. So thank you for that.
And anyone can feel free to get in contact with me about questions that they have about Northwest Family Services. I think my email and phone number are up there.
We'll have it up on the screen, and we'll make sure that
available.
People can wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for watching this segment of Community Hotline. I hope you enjoyed the whole show. There was a lot of good information out there. We'll be back here next week, so we'll see you then. I'm Monica Weitzel. Good night.
Hotline is made possible with generous support by the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission. The Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission advocates on behalf of the public interest on communications policy issues at the local, state, and federal levels.